How's it going, everybody? Now, for any of you that have been following Master My Garden podcast, it's a garden podcast that I run every week. And if you have been following that, you will have heard me talking a little bit about that I would be bringing video and YouTube and so on to it'd be the next part of what I was doing with Master My Garden. And nearly ready to start doing regular videos, having a clue how to do them first time after spending 20 minutes setting up this microphone and all that. But it's nearly ready, as I say. I have the polytunnel here nearly ready, and I'll show you all what I'm planning to do there. The idea of Master My Garden is that I will show you, the podcast comes with tips every week and helps people master their own garden. And the video, I think, will add to that a little bit, because there is things that I've been asked to cover in the podcast, and they're very difficult to cover as a podcast topic because they really are visual. So somebody asks how to plant a hanging basket. Well, that's very, very difficult to show, obviously, in a podcast. So that's what the idea of the video is, to just add an extra layer of helping you master your own garden. Almost ready to start sowing seeds with a pretty much, I've just unboxed them here and I'm going to go through that in a minute with you. I certainly have gone over the top, got more than I definitely needed, but there was, and there still is, sort of issues around supply of seed. So I bought pre-Christmas and I probably have more than I need, but they'll do me for a little while. The reason I wanted to get a bit of variety as well was I want to develop a couple of areas in the garden, and so I'm adding in a lot of flower there, but also I want to kind of have a broad range of veg and fruit that we're growing here, so that I can show you how you grow all of those different things. As I say, I've probably gone a little bit over the top, but nonetheless, I'll show you anyway. So on the table here, I don't quite know how to use the camera yet, but on the table you can see a huge array of seeds, and I suppose I'm just going to run through what exactly I'm going to be sowing. So first off, I have a batch of herbs. So I have coriander, sage, hyssop. I have echinacea, which could technically fall into either the flower or the herb, because I'm predominantly going to be growing it for the flower part of it, because it really is a beautiful flower. Thyme, chives, and some other bits and pieces of herbs. I have some rosemary plants that I'll add in, because they'll be quite important. Sage is another one. So all of the usual ones that I'd use in the kitchen. And then in terms of veg, quite a lot of veg. So I have two types of spinach. I have Amazon, which is a very good variety, and Giant Winter, which I probably won't use until later on in the year, but it will give a sort of 12-month spread on spinach, so I'll have a long harvest time on that. In terms of brassicas, then I have greyhound cabbage, pointed, really good spring variety. I have cauliflower, candied charm. I have broccoli, which is I have a couple of different types of the purple sprouting, and I have the ordinary green, so Green Magic and Iron Man. Brussels sprouts, Brody. We're not huge fans of Brussels sprouts here, but definitely for the winter time they're a super crop to have. So just one type of Brussels sprouts. And then I have purple sprout and broccoli, which is brilliant, but I won't be sowing that until later on, because that's a crop that I'll sow outside and over winter. So I should be harvesting the first of that kind of this time next year. And it's something that, because this is the first kind of cycle that I'm going through, so some of these seeds are really with the aim of having crops for next spring, which I don't have at the moment. So that's what they're about. So two types of purple sprout and broccoli, two different varieties, because one of them will come ready a little bit earlier, but again I'll have purple sprout and broccoli from quite early next spring. Another cabbage, again it's a pointed one, it's Wheeler's Imperial. That's a very good variety. And then the usual suspects. So I have 4 different types of carrots. One is sugar snacks, which I'll grow in the tunnel here, be quite early, so that's one that I'm looking forward to. Then I have early nonce, very, very popular variety. I'll probably do dual sowing on that. I'll probably sow some in the tunnel and some outside. Autumn King then, which is a slightly later one, and again that will give us a harvest towards the back end of this year and possibly into the early part of next year. So that's why I've gone with a few varieties there. Parsnips, 2 types, tender and true, which is an old favourite. Everyone would know that variety, and javelin. And then I have swede, or turnip as we call them here, and the variety is Marion. So they're, again, a very, very popular, very successful variety. Beetroot, which is very popular, I like that. So you can eat beetroot several ways. You can use the leaf, you can roast the fully formed beet, and then of course you can pickle them as well. And so we'll be doing a bit of that, and I'll show you that as well. Tomatoes, I have a few different types. I have an old variety that everybody knows is Gardener's Delight. That's really good, solid variety. But 2 new ones I'm trying, Honeymoon and Mountain Magic, and they're supposed to be very, very good varieties. Actually, I heard somebody recommended Mountain Magic. If you were going to grow 1 tomato, that should be it, but it depends. There's so many varieties, and everybody has success with different ones, so don't worry too much about your varieties. So I have Tumbling Tom as well, a very good one for baskets, so I'll grow that, and I'll show you how we go about planting that into a hanging basket. So if you're only living you have a small garden and you just want to have a tomato in your garden and you're not able to sow it into the ground or into a grow bag, Tumbling Tom is a very good one, because you can do it actually just in a hanging basket. So that's a very good variety. I'm trying celery. Celery is a tricky one, but yeah, that, as I said, tricky, but we'll give that one a go. Victoria is the variety. And then a few different types of lettuce leaves. So I've Rocket, I've Baby Gem, Little Gem lettuce. I have Analea, which is a butterhead, so the green butterhead type lettuce. And then I have peppers, leeks, chili peppers. I have, actually this one here, aubergines. We actually don't eat aubergines here. It's an old packet of seed that I have. Possibly won't grow that, I don't know. As I say, we don't really eat it here, so there's not much point. So a little bit of advice, I would always just grow. Like, it's lovely to go out and buy all the seeds, but if you don't eat them in the house, what's the point? So just concentrate on what you use the most and go with that. This one here is chard, and it's rainbow chard. So these ones, actually they're grown for their leaf and their stem, ideal for salads, ideal for stir fries and so on. But I'm going to try this a little bit into some of the flower beds as well, because the stems of these are the most vivid, bright colours. So they actually look well in an ornamental bed as well. So, as I say, sort of a dual purpose on that one. I have sweet corn, which I've never grown before, but the tunnel will give me the opportunity to do that. So I'm going to do sweet corn. We have a pumpkin and a squash. Again, I've never grown either of those, so the girls are very excited about the pumpkin, and we'll try the squash. So just something different to try. And then I have French beans, the dwarf variety, so they'll only grow small, but if you keep picking the French beans as they come ready, then that will continue for a long period of time to have you'll be able to have French beans on a regular basis. I'm also doing the climbing bean, so the variety I have is Cobra, and you'll have heard me talking about companion planting in the last episode of the podcast. And the most famous companion planting is the Three Sisters, and that's sweet corn, climbing beans, and pumpkin or squash or courgette. So I'm going to use that combination here in the tunnel and just see how that works. It's supposed to be really successful, so I'm looking forward to just trying that and trialing it all out. Not sure if I mentioned already, but I have leeks, and then radishes. Super, if you like radishes, it's a super crop because it's really, really fast, and if you're growing vegetables with children, you need to have a kind of a quick, so something that gives them a quick win, something that excites them. So radish is ready really, really quickly, and it can be used in between, so as a quick intercrop that you can sow it and grab something back out really quickly. And as I say, if you're growing with children, it gives them a really quick win, which they like. Then on to the flowers. Quite a mix here. So I have a couple of different types of cosmos. I have Cosmos Sonata series, I have Cosmos Santos, I have Fizzy Mix, I have Cosmos Capriola, and then I have cornflower. I have several different types of sweet pea. I have about 5 different varieties of sweet pea, and something I've never done before is grow dahlias from seeds. So I have, again, a few types here. So I have Bishop's Children, which is supposed to be a very, very good variety, and I have Coltness. So again, just mixed. I also have some perennials in Verbascin, a couple of different types of verbenas. So again, all of these I'm going to produce my own plants for using in flower beds here. So as I say, a mix of flower and a mix of veg. And then I have, again, some more cornflowers. I have a couple of types of foxglove or digitalis. They're really nice, very, very good for pollinators. So as I say, a couple of types of those as well. And then I suppose more, well, they're very, for most people, they're a great plant to grow. So I have 2 different types of sunflower. The reason they're great to grow, especially if you're growing with children, is they're so easy. Like literally anybody can grow them. But then they're very impressive, and you know, again, for growing with children, the fact that they're going to stand 6 foot tall and look impressive, and it's something that they can show to people. You know, they can show their friends and their grandparents that, you know, this is what I've grown. On the other side of it, they're superb for pollinators again. And if you're leaving them in place, so after they flower, you'll have pollinators on them all summer. But then after that, if you leave them, the birds will actually eat the sunflower out of it. And again, and you can harvest your own back out of it to have seed for next year. So on all levels, sunflower is a brilliant plant to grow, and especially if you're starting, as I say, with children. Again, very, very, very good type. I, for the first time, bought seeds from Seedaholic. I've never bought from them before. I was pleasantly surprised, really pleasantly surprised when it arrived. So this is how they arrive. So they arrive in a big envelope, big padded envelope, and what you get with each type is, so you have your little bag with the seed in it here, and the seed count that's on it, whether it's by grams or by seed count. But you get a full color image of the flower. Then you get, on the front of the pack, you get a bit of a descriptor of it, so it tells you all about the plant. And then when you turn around to the back, it gives you sowing details. It gives you how to cultivate, harvesting if it's a harvested crop. It gives you the medicinal uses for it. Then it gives you the edible uses for it. And it gives you, if it's a perennial, it gives you all how you would, you know, as that plant develops and you can divide it and so on. It gives you all those tips. So it gives you the information about the plant and what you can do afterwards in terms of uses for it. And, you know, as I say, if it's a perennial that can be divided, it gives you that. So really superb packaging, to be fair. The information is so good. On the back, the sowing information, the temperatures that you need to work at. So as I say, really impressive from Seedaholic. I don't have any connection to them. As I say, I've never bought from them before, but as I say, really pleasantly surprised with that. But what I've got from them is, I've got canuncula's, and I'll be using that quite a bit, both in the tunnel and around the tunnel, as part of, I suppose, attracting in ladybirds really. So canuncula's aphids will come to that, or greenfly will come to that, and then the ladybirds will come for the greenfly. And that's the plan, is to have, you know, a lot of ladybirds hopefully in the area of the tunnel, and then that will keep any problems with pests at bay. I have 2 different types of achilles. So I have a mixed one and a single flower. This one is actually gorgeous, cerise queen, so really, really nice. And then I have a Korean hyssop or Brassica. I have a specific place for that. I have 3 different types of Angel's fishing rods, so really nice flowers. I have Rebecca had a special request for them, so that's why I've got these, but they're absolutely beautiful. And as I say, 3 different types of those. Arranging them, I've actually probably left it a little bit late for sowing that, so it might be a case of I'll leave that till later on in the year. And then I have a few different, you know, so Nigelia, Love in the Mist, violas, type in nasturtium, again a verbascin. So I have a verbascin seed already in the other range, but with this one it's actually a really different color, so it's a dark purple color. It's really nice. And then I have a couple of grasses, and I've never grown grasses from seed before, but there's a Carex, and as I say, I've never grown grasses before, so that's just something like, you know, exciting, something different to try. And it's always good to try something different. As I say, I probably have gone a little bit over the top with this, but I just wanted to have a bit of variety in what I'm going to have to show you guys. So as I say, that's the start of it. I'm in the tunnel here at the minute, just about to start sowing. I will do some videos of, you know, how you sow, not of everything. There's too many here, and there's no need on a lot of it. A lot of it is really simple, but on the ones where, you know, people like a bit of guidance, I'll show how you do that. You know, things like tomatoes and so on. Now, technically speaking, if you look, everybody has been sowing tomato seeds since February. But just where we are here, I would never sow tomatoes, well, before now, and we're in the, you know, up to the 3rd week of March here, so I would never sow tomatoes prior to that. Number one, I have netted sides on the tunnel, so this tunnel is not quite as warm as other tunnels might be. But more than that, it's, as I said, the 3rd week of March here, and this is Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day. But last Thursday, Friday, Saturday here, we actually had sleet and snow on all 3 days. Now, not much, it didn't stick, but that'll just tell you. So if I had tomato plants that were, you know, well advanced, or tomato seedlings that were well advanced at this stage, last week's weather just would have been too harsh for them. So don't panic. If you're in a colder area, it really depends on that. So just know your area. I know you often see, and people really like, what can I sow? You know, these bits of advice. What can I sow in February? What can I sow in January? What can I sow in March? But massive tip there is to really know your own area, because the person that's given that advice is probably 100% right for where they are. But if it doesn't relate to where you are, you know, so if somebody's saying to me, sow tomatoes in January or sow tomatoes in February, it just doesn't make any sense here, because too cold. You know, we're roughly speaking 6 weeks later than a lot of the warmer parts of both Ireland and the UK. So just know your area. Don't get too panicked. You know, you will get time where there's lots of time to sow seed, and there's lots of time to catch up. And when the plants, if they're too early, they will just sit there and they won't do anything. But if you sow them at the right time for your area, they'll hit the ground, they'll grow really quickly, and they will become either the flower or the plant that you're looking for. So as I said, don't panic, and don't necessarily follow the, you must sow this in January, you must sow this in February, because it has to relate to the area that you're in. So that's the very first video I've ever done. I aim to do videos very regularly, at least one a week, onto the YouTube channel, and obviously posting snippets of it then onto various social channels. So I hope I haven't waffled on too much, but I just wanted to show you what seeds I'm sowing, and then as we go along I'll show you the whole journey. I will this week give a good look at the tunnel and what's happening here. I have propagation areas set up, I have the beds ready to go, and as I say, I'll show you what's happening there. So that's the very first one, very first video for Master My Garden. As I say, I hope I haven't waffled on too much, but it's good to get one under the belt anyway. So thanks for listening, and until the next time, happy gardening.